Okay, go for it. Thank
All
you,
right.
Anthony,
We're
for
live.
that.
We're recording pala, not live.
Welcome, everyone. So, last week, Rev taught us the lesson one of Christian healing, which is the true being. This week, our lesson naman is about being's perfect idea. So, I thought to kind of show you where you can get yung binabasa nating book or the book we're studying at the moment. I thought of sharing with you where truth unity looks like kasi this is a really good honestly this has made my studies easier as a licensed unity teacher kasi then I don't have the physical copy, but ito siya. Can everybody see this? Yan. So ito siya, truthunity.net. If a lot of the Fillmore work is in this website, Mark Hicks actually put it together. So this is his ministry. So starting with lesson 2. And sabi nga nila, this is probably one of Charles Fillmore's most organized work kasi nakaano siya like by number. And I like it because what Anthony went over just now is actually majority of this thought. And like kanina, di ba, like what Anthony mentioned, unity is we're not really a religion in a sense. Kasi it's here in lesson 2, number 1, it says, the very foundation of our religion is spirit. And there is a science, because like Charles Fillmore is a very scientific guy. And the science of truth of God is thinking out creation. Meaning, and he got this idea from how many of you is familiar with the first chapter of John, where it says, siguro you've heard of this before, which he quotes in number 2, na in the beginning was the Word, which is Logos actually, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then the same, the same was with God, and all things that were made through Him, meaning through Logos. Without Logos, nothing was made that has been made. In other words, what does actually Logos means? Logos, can you see number 3? So number 3, when you hear the word Logos, how many of you have heard of that word Logos before? You can put 1 in the chat or yes in the chat. Ilan, how many of you have heard of that word, Logos? Okay, so kung hindi nyo pa siya naririnig before, so Logos is the term logos is defined as our thought expressed, either the ideas in our mind or vocal speech, meaning words talaga. So, ibig sabihin, when you hear the word logos, it simply means thoughts. It's expressed either as an idea in our mind or in our vocal speech. Now, like much like other things in unity, if we do not um, apply it, hindi natin siya naiintindihan. And when we understand what logos really means, the understanding of logos simply means what our third principle, which is the law of mind action, which means that creation takes place, like all of the things that we've created, is through the operation of the logos, meaning operation of thought expressed. And even in of itself, God is thinking the universe into manifestation right now. And God itself cannot create without the very law of mind action. And we'll delve deeper. How does God create? Um, in further detail. Um, then this one really. I know I have heard of this teaching before. Number 5, it says, God mind, God mind expresses its thoughts so perfectly that there is no occasion for change. Hence, all prayers and supplications for the change of God's will to conform to human desires are futile. Remember, Libad, we have what's called the affirmative prayer. And I know before I think unity, I bargained with God many times, not knowing this. Na yung pala, hindi rin eh. God does not change his mind or trim his thoughts to meet the conflicting opinions of mankind. Understanding the perfection of God's thoughts, ang magko-conform tayo. Ang magbabago ng isip, us, not God. So conforming, so when we conform, diba, when we renew our mind according to God's mind, we will discover that there's nothing that needs to change. We are the one that needs to change, not God's way of thinking. Our way of thinking is the thing that needs to change. That's what we do when we go into meditation and prayer and silence. That's what we do. And here's a very key, I think, na sinabi rin that Anthony shared earlier. A key to God mind. You know, before, di ba, we would think, oh, you know, there's only a few like special individuals or the has a key to God mind. Charles Fillmore in this book, he says a key to God mind is with everyone. It's already with all of us. It is the action of the individual mind. So our action itself is already our key to God mind. So what does he say here? This is the one I was like struck when he says this one. Study your own mind, and through it, you will find God mind. And this one's, ano, na, di ba, over and over, we would hear like, I think it was Mary Morrissey, notice what you're noticing. Because in a way, when we are starting to study our thoughts and become aware of our thinking, in reality, we are becoming aware of the God mind. And it says here that when we see, and I know how many of us probably have done this too, that when we see the creator thinking out his universe as the mathematician thinks out his problem, you will understand the necessity for the very apparent effort that nature makes to express itself. Diba? We always have this impulse within us to be better, to be higher, to be bigger, to be better versions of ourselves. And really that is the God mind within us and us thinking out. Because God mind is the living acting thoughts. Diba? Like the challenge that Rev has been giving us is like making 10% better. What really that is the key to God mind, that when we, ooh, okay. So God mind is living, acting thoughts. And that's God mind, like the wanting to be bigger, wanting to be better, higher, is really the God mind thinking through us. It's the idea kung, like if you had the word this year, like for me, loving abundance, that is the God mind thinking, acting through me and in me, pushing, you know, how does loving abundance look like? What idea are they gonna be? How are they gonna be expressed in my life? And then like here, it's so, and here's the other thing. Like while we all have access to the God mind in number 7, that God mind is giving itself to us, the creations, the evolving independence that has the power to cooperate, to oppose the original God will. That ibig sabihin, all of us, yes, you know, it's that thought na, limbawa, the thought of, um, like here, it is vital importance to study the mind and understand its law, because the starting point of every form in the universe is an idea. So like it says here, diba, all of us, let's say the word love, for instance, we will have different ideas of what love is by definition, by expression. And that's one thing about the God mind, is giving us this independence and the power na to express that love in depending. And ito, I think a lot of us have asked this question, especially if we have been seeking, is what am I, or who am I? Diba? Like, or iba pang questions dyan is, what's my purpose? Bakit ako nandito? Why am I here? And God's answer, I love this answer actually. Sabi niya, spiritually, you are my idea of myself as I see myself in the ideal. Physically, you are the law of my mind executing that idea. So this is, I was like, this, I'm God. I am God's idea of itself. As God sees me as Jo, as God sees Anthony, as God sees Tin, yun yung expression ni that at that moment. If you think about it, how many of us in the planet now? 8 billion. So 8 billion idea of God mind expressed individually. And the thing is, minsan hindi natin siya nakikita because I think, especially before I came to Unity, is this one. Is to attempt to understand this whole mystery of our connection with God. It's like the exact, I know yung parang separate. And I know for a while, it's like, I've had that experience na parang I I'm not totally atheistic before, maybe more agnostic, pero I don't want to dare touch it. So kaya in a way parang hindi ko naiintindihan ang buhay. What is life all about and what am I? I love this part, number 9. If you would like to know the mystery of being, see yourself in being. Know yourself as an integral idea in divine mind. And it says, throw yourself out, which I did, which I have experienced in my life, out of that holy trinity, and you become an onlooker. Throw yourself into the trinity, and you become its avenue of expression, meaning trinity, in unity language, in Fillmore, the Father, the Son, the Spirit, which is mind, idea, expression. Really, that's what we mean when we mean the Trinity, the mind, the idea, and the expression. So if I don't pay attention to those three in my life, I throw myself out of that. That's where it becomes the bakit nangyayari to sa buhay ko? The whole victim consciousness, I think, comes in. And yet when I throw myself that I am, the mind, the idea, the expression, I am the avenue of that, then I become the vessel. I mean, not just a vessel, but also it, God itself in the body. So kaya nga sabi dito, di ba, and I'm gonna skip 10. And then this one, I like this one because it says that the mind of God is spirit, soul, and body. That's the mind of God. Mind, idea, expression. The mind of spirit, um, it says mukhang hindi to yung binasa ko kanina. Okay. So basically we are the same because we're created in the image and likeness of God, that the mind that we have, the mind of man, is also spirit, soul, and body, not separate from God mind. Pareho tayong God does the same thing, but existing in it and manifesting in it. So we then are, when we develop ourselves, hindi lang tayo basta katawan lang o mind lang or spirit lang or soul lang. Mind, we actually, when we develop all three, okay, all of them, then it will go deeper na. So this is the one, I think I've heard of this before, that in our right relation, when we think in that right relation with that, we are the mind, idea, and expression, we become the inlet and the outlet. Inlet na, outlet pa, pareho, of an everywhere present life, substance, and intelligence. So that's who we truly are. When we elect to be that avenue of expression, and when our I recognizes the fact, our ego in a way, and adjust ourselves to that invisible expression of the one mind, doon tayo nagiging harmonious, doon nagiging vigorous, at like it says here, yung life natin, yung body natin healthy. Kasi we now are aligning our mind, our body, our spirit, our soul with the mind of God, the body of God, the soul of God. And and so in order for us, kaya nga, this is one of my, I think it is imperative that we understand this relationship, that not only for us to understand that abstract proposition, oh, that's a great principle, Joe, that's fine. But it's really, this is, um, this is one of my favorite one right here. It says, but it is necessary that we blend our life consciously with God life, our intelligence with God intelligence, our body with God's body or the Lord's body. Kasi when we do that, when we consciously do that, um, we also involves not only the recognition of the universal life intelligence, but also the various combinations. So then it becomes a physical expression in our daily lives and in our bodies. And then the perfect man idea in God mind, okay, is known in various names in many religious systems. It's Krishna in the Hindus, it's Messiah in the Hebrews, it's Christ in the Christian tradition, or the Messiah. And this this perfect idea of God, Christ, is really who we truly are, our true selves. And it is constantly seeking, like what I discussed earlier, to release its perfection in us, to release that love, to release that joy, that peace. And when we, like dito, it explains it further. It is our spirit when we ask for guidance and we place ourselves, when we have, that prayer, and when we do our prayer, we do our silence, our affirmations, our visualization, it it is that, ano, it's our true self. It's just seeking to release that perfection. And it's not so much for us to actually find it, kasi nandun na siya. It's actually a matter of remembering, a matter of awakening. Um, and then this one, this is when I understood what really what oneness is all about. In 15, it says, the most important part of the law mind action is the fact of thought unity, which means that, what does that fact thought unity is all about? It says that this means, how, when they say great minds think alike, what it means in this one, it holds true also in our thinking with spirit. And this is quite revolutionary to me when I read this one. It says, this means that we think of ourselves as God thinks of us, in order to appreciate and to receive his thoughts and to bring forth the fruits. If you think of yourself as less than the perfect child of the perfect parent, you lower the thought standard of your mind and cut off the thought from the divine mind. So ito yung sinasabi daw, that you shall be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. So parang when I start thinking that I am not enough, or I'm not good enough, or anything, the thing that I think less of the way God thinks less, thinks of me, that is already where I separate myself from God. And when the moment I do think, like, how does God really think of me? Like when I think of that, dun ko na I'm like, wow, how does God think of me? How does God think of me? And how can I think of myself the way God thinks of me? And and Jesus, when he walked upon the face of the earth, this is what he was thinking, is he was thinking of the way God is thinking of him. And Kaya when he, although maraming ano yan eh, in like in this one, it says in number 16, even I think when I first heard that, when I first heard of now really the perfect idea of God of the perfect idea in man is me, or the Christ is me. Oh goodness. I almost wanted to leave the Unity Palo Alto because it's so I mean it's so parang bang na-shake yung perception ko, and I'm like, God, baka kilatan ako bigla. You know,
Shocking.
shocking. Yes, Matthew.
No,
It was very.
shocking.
It is. I thought that the like, come on now. I'm gonna have, lightning is gonna come on me now. It's like to claim that I'm like, I am who? Anyway, but yes, it is very shocking. Very,
It's
very
amazing.
shocking. It is amazing. I agree with you. And then, and I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Honestly, that's my first thought. And yet, slowly, it takes time for me to eat. And this is really a big one for me. This is a very big realization for me that I am the begotten daughter, child of the Most High. I'm like, you got to be kidding. When I first heard that in Unity, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna run away now. Honestly. But and then the more I really listen to it at the heart level, because you have it in my mind, in my conscious mind, I was like, oh God, heaven help me. But in my heart, I kind of know it's true. And and then the whole, and it's only then, like, only realizing that, wait a second, I am the begotten child of God. I am the daughter of the Most High. Only through, it says, the superconscious mind, and we access the superconscious mind, God mind, through, number one, prayer. And Jesus did that big time. And how did he do it? He did it through, um it says here, not in this one, he was in constant contact with the Father. Basically, he was, when he says he was praying there, Paul said it, that he was praying continuously or consistently. That's Jesus exactly doing. And that's how he was able to be in contact with the superconscious mind, or the God mind, to behold and commune with source, or with God. And here's the other one. I'm trying to find where it says that he basically he basically the only he was basically in prayer. It's not even he's just doing prayer. He has the consciousness of prayer. He has that's a his thing. He is always in connection. So then it says here, it is the matter of sonship that we should not overlook. The point is not only to perceive it as a possibility. I think when I first heard of this, I was perceiving it as a possibility. And then, okay, so now I have that perception. Once you know it, you cannot unknow it. Is to actually then really demonstrate it in our lives. And that's exactly what he says, that Charles Filmer is saying. That is what it means to be born anew. Or the more modern thing that we hear, the word born again, is the moment we perceive and demonstrate it in our lives that, wait, I am the child of God, the beloved child of God, the beloved child of the Most High. Yes, it says the first birth is human. Our self consciousness as an intellectual and a physical being. The second birth, or being so called born again, is the transformation and translation of the human, of our humanity, to the higher plane of consciousness of the Son of God, our divinity. So our first birth, our humanity. Our second birth is waking up or remembering our divinity, which means that you and I are the kids, are the children, the son, the daughter of God. And it says the second birth is where we put on Christ. Okay, it's one thing to know it, right? Like what we learn in Unity, it's this another thing to actually put it on, which means to practice. because it takes, especially if we've been programmed for quite a while, a process, it says, of mental adjustment and body transmutation that takes place right here on earth. Have this in mind, which was also in Christ Jesus, the epitome of mental and physical change that may require years to work out. Case in point, Myrtle Fillmore. When she started saying, I am a child of God, I do not inherit sickness. She did both. The mental change, the physical change, took 2 years to be cured of tuberculosis. And it says that you and I will need to go undergo this before we can to be like Jesus. So, and okay, so that's what it means to be actually born again, is to for us to realize, wait a second, I am a kid of God right at the get-go, right at the gate. I've never fallen from that, never ever, never ever, never ever, never ever will be. And it says, this being born anew or born from above or born again is not a miraculous change that takes place in a man. It is the establishment in his consciousness. This is the one I was talking about. It is the establishment in his consciousness of that which has existed as the perfect man idea and divine mind. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya yung, the way that I think I was taught, born again is like parang biglang the renewing of the mind, which is part of that too. Part of that renewing of the mind is really a waking up or an awakening or a remembrance that, wait, this is who I truly am. I am the daughter of the Most High. I am the son of the Most High, or whatever the name that you ascribe for God. And it says, God is spirit, therefore we are spiritual. And then from that consciousness of, wait, I am a kid, I am a child of God, right? And it is to the spiritual man, to that spirit of us, that divine, the divinity that's us, or I call it, the way I make it easier for me, the divine me. It is to that divine me that the Father says, all things that are mine are yours. And when we understand this, this is where Jesus of Nazareth, that's where he was able to do the things that he was able to do. And I think from when he said that you'll do greater things than this is exactly what he was talking about. The realization or the awakening that I am a kid of God. And coming from that truth, when we go about our world, is when and andito siya. It's like, foremost of these prophecies is the almost universal desire for freedom that spiritual life promises, freedom from material limitations. The immortal perception spurs man on to invent mechanical devices that will carry him above limitations, right? What helps us to go through the challenges, the limitations we have, is this very understanding of our own divinity. And some people may call it the Christ, may call it the Buddha nature. In unity, we call it the Christ. And it's funny, Anthony, you mentioned this today. It is in his spiritual nature, he is provided with the ability to overcome gravity. Yung kanina, bumagsak, di ba? Jesus, demonstrated that he was able to walk on water, of overcome gravity. I have a friend, she made fun of this. She goes, the only thing that I wish I could mimic Jesus is to turn water to wine. So I don't have to buy it at the store. Anyway, gusto niyang gawin. If I'm going to be, when this power is developed, it is common to see men and women passing to and from in the air without wings or mechanical appliances of any description. Jesus walking on water, right? And how did Jesus actually do this? The upper room. And it says in the New Testament, the work of physical physiologies, these centers are the cities or rooms. The upper room is the very top of our head. You probably are familiar with this. The 12 powers. Jesus was in the upper room of his mind when Nicodemus came to him by night, meaning the ignorance of sense consciousness. It was in this upper room that the followers of Jesus came upon them, which means the superconsciousness, the Christ mind, find its first entrance into the natural mind, which are our human mind, through the higher brain centers. So we bring, and remember in the 12 powers, faith, will, faith number one is in the higher brain center. Faith, will, imagination, understanding, at least those four are all here. And that's where the super consciousness usually comes in. Understanding. Um, by thought, speech, and deed, the Christ mind is brought into manifestation and into manifestation. So, kaya di ba, our fourth principle, we pray good. The meditations that we do. I know the only time I think I started funny, I started understanding a lot of what I read in the Bible in my younger years is when I started meditating or silent meditation, which gives to a point that, the superconscious mind needed me quiet so that, and where did it come through? Indeed, the higher brain center. Okay, I will do this in a more, let me just stop sharing for a sec. I'm going to share with you. Okay. And I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to share with you all these, suggested ni Charles Fillmore to, what do you call it? And then you can tell me, this is our discussion is going to be. I'm going to read about, I'm going to see. Let me see here. To help us now, much like what we do in the past, is to have a affirmation. And I'm going to go through some affirmations from this excerpt, and then pick one that resonates well with you, or pick one that resonates with you, that you'd like to express more for the week. Kasi this is really what, kung sa akin talaga medyo, I'm like, wow, God, this medyo mahirap to lunokin ng konti. But now I'm like, okay. And you can look at this, and I'm gonna share my screen and see which one of this resonates with you, and you can think about it. Really, parang sa Tagalog, ano ba yun? Hindi lang pagnilay-nilayan. Pagnilay-nilayan. Or, how would you translate nilay-nilay in English? Meditate. Meditate upon it. And really savor it, I would say. Okay? Let me share this. Kasi medyo maliit yung isa eh. Okay. So, and in of course, because it's Fillmore's work, back in the day, medyo hindi pa ano yung pronouns niya eh. So, kaya you could change the pronoun according to what pronoun you want to use. Okay? So, the first one, it says, and you can, it says here that I am, or you could say I am the child of God, if that feels more comfortable to you, or I am the daughter, or I am the son. So it says, I am the child of God. The Spirit of the Most High dwells in me. Okay. Or will it be better na lang, we'll say it one by one and see which one you feel most comfortable with. How about that? Okay, let's all unmute ourselves and let's say these affirmations or statements for the realization that we are the child of God. So let's go with the first one. Instead of son, let's do child para lahat tayo the same. I am the child of God.
I am the child of God.
And the Spirit of the Most High
The Spirit of the
And
Most
the
High
Spirit of the Most High
dwells in me.
dwells in me.
dwells in me.
I am the only begotten child
I am the only
I
begotten
am the
child,
only begotten child,
dwelling in the bosom of the Father.
dwelling in the bosom of the Father.
dwelling in the bosom of the Father.
I am the Lord of my mind,
I am the
I
Lord
am the Lord of my mind
I am the Lord of my mind,
and the ruler of all of its thought people.
and
and
the
the
ruler of all its thought people.
I am the Lord of mine, and the ruler of all its thoughts.
I am the Christ of God.
I am the
I
Christ of
am the
God.
Christ of God.
Through Christ,
Through Christ,
Through Christ,
I have dominion over every thought and word.
I have dominion over every thought
dominion
and
over
word.
every thought and word. Oh,
This is actually my favorite one. I am the beloved child
I am the beloved child
I am the beloved child,
in whom the Father is well pleased.
in whom the Father
in
is
whom
well
the Father
pleased.
is well pleased.
Of a truth, I am the child of God.
Of a truth, I
Of a
am the
truth, I
child of
am the
God.
child of God.
All that the Father has is mine.
All that the Father
All that the
has
Father has is
is
mine.
mine.
He that has seen me has seen the Father.
He that hath
He that
seen
has
me
seen me has
hath
seen the
seen the
Father.
Father.
I and my Father are one.
I and my
I
Father
and the Father
are
are
one.
one.
Okay? So let me just stop the sharing there. Whoops. Okay. So think of those statements that we have just went through, okay? And see which one of them resonated with you. And we're gonna go through a quick meditation. Okay. Allowing ourselves at this moment to close our eyes, to simply relax, relaxing in the one presence and power of divine love. Taking a nice deep breath and slowly sighing it out, knowing that this very breath that's leaving us is the one presence and one power. And this divine love that's breathing us in this moment is also in every cell of our body, in every atom, in every space. That as its kids, as its children, we are indeed the divine love, peace, the joy, the grace, the source, the loving abundance. And we are grateful, like that song, one of my favorite song, that we are no longer a slave to fear, because we are indeed the child of God. That we are the perfect child of God, beautiful in every way. And we are grateful for tonight, just to gather together, to know that, to even discover and awaken and remember the truth of our being, the truth of who we are. I am a child of God in whom God is well pleased. That I and the Father are one. That all that God has is mine. I am indeed the child of God. We're grateful for this truth, and we say, so it is. Amen. So we can do our sharing now. So ilan sa inyo, how many of you, when before unity, I mean, when you heard this in unity, that even the whole concept of I am a child of God, or I am the Christ, there's the whole idea. How many of you, how did you, yes, Anthony.
Siguro we can stop the recording before the sharing.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I-stop na natin, no, para they can share freely. So we're
Yeah.
stopping the recording now, huh? All right.
Yes. Yes.